There are moments in life when the path ahead is completely obscured. You find yourself standing at a crossroads shrouded in fog, uncertainty clouding your heart and mind. Maybe it's a problem with your family, a financial crisis, a health challenge, or a dream that seems just beyond reach. When you can't see the way, it's natural to feel lost, confused, even hopeless. But in those moments, I want you to remember something powerful. You don't have to find your way alone. There is one who has already made the way before you. He knows every twist and turn, every pitfall, and every mountain, and he invites you to come to him in prayer. When we find ourselves standing at a crossroads, looking ahead but unable to see clearly, it's natural to feel anxious. Our human nature drives us to want control, to want answers immediately, and to want certainty before taking any step. We want to understand the whole picture, to see every detail laid out before us like a clear map. But life rarely works that way. More often than not, the path ahead is blurred by circumstances we cannot fully grasp. That's when the greatest test of our faith begins, the test of trusting in a wisdom far greater than our own. You see, there is a profound difference between relying on what we can see with our physical eyes and trusting in the one who sees everything from beginning to end. Our vision is limited by time and space. We only see the next step or two, at best. But God's vision is eternal. He is the creator who designed the entire journey, the one who knows where every twist, every turn, every detour, and every straight road leads. When we lean on our own understanding, we limit ourselves to what is visible and immediate. But when we lean on God's wisdom, we open ourselves to the full scope of his divine plan, even if it is hidden from our eyes for the moment. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if I can't see the way clearly, maybe there is no way. But that is not true. The lack of sight does not mean a lack of direction. It means we need to trust someone who sees the bigger picture. It means we need to surrender our need for control and allow ourselves to be led by the one who created the way. Think about the natural world. A tiny seed buried beneath the soil. It cannot see the sunlight or know the path it must take to break through the ground and grow. Yet, it trusts the process because it was designed by an intelligent creator who set the laws of growth in motion. Similarly, when we face uncertainty, we are like that seed. We cannot see what is above the surface, but we can trust that the one who designed us and our path has already made a way. Trusting God's wisdom over our own sight doesn't mean we ignore our circumstances or pretend we don't feel fear. It means we acknowledge our limitations and humbly submit our will to a higher understanding. Prayer becomes our way of saying, Lord, I don't understand where I'm going right now, but I trust you because you made the way. You know what I cannot see. This kind of trust is active, not passive. It requires courage to step forward in faith, even when the path is unclear. When we rely on God's wisdom, we gain peace that surpasses all understanding. Our hearts stop racing with worry and our minds find rest. This peace is a gift. It's a sign that we have handed over our burdens to the one who can carry them. It doesn't mean the road will suddenly become clear, but it means we can walk forward without the weight of fear dragging us down. History is filled with examples of people who trusted in God's wisdom despite not seeing the full path. They faced uncertainty, but they prayed and trusted. Because of their faith, doors opened where none seemed possible, and solutions came when all human resources were exhausted. Their trust in the unseen plan allowed them to persevere through trials that would have otherwise defeated them. This trust also reshapes how we see our challenges. Instead of obstacles, we begin to view them as opportunities for growth and refinement. When we lean on our own sight, we see roadblocks. When we trust in God's wisdom, we see stepping stones. This shift in perspective empowers us to keep moving forward, knowing that the path, though hidden, is perfectly prepared for us. It's important to remember that God's wisdom is not always immediate or convenient. Sometimes his way requires patience, waiting, or even going through difficult seasons. But his wisdom is perfect and his timing is flawless. Trusting him means trusting that every delay or detour is part of his plan to shape us into who we need to become and to lead us where we need to go. In your moments of doubt, remind yourself that the one who made the way is never caught off guard. He is not surprised by your circumstances. He knows the end from the beginning, and he is actively working all things together for your good. Your limited sight cannot compete with his infinite wisdom. So, when you find the path ahead obscured by doubt, confusion, or fear, choose to trust the Creator's wisdom above your own sight. Pray for eyes to see beyond the present moment. Pray for faith to step forward even when the way is not clear. And hold on to the promise that the one who made the way will never leave you stranded in the darkness. He will be your guide, your light, and your strength until you reach the place he has prepared for you. When life becomes confusing and the way forward seems blocked, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and alone. The pressure to make the right decisions can weigh heavily on your heart, especially when you don't have all the answers or the clarity you crave. But there is a beautiful truth you can hold on to. Prayer is your direct connection to the one who holds all wisdom and understanding. It is the bridge between your uncertainty and God's perfect guidance. Prayer is more than just words or a routine. It is a sacred conversation with the Creator who knows your heart and your struggles intimately. When you pray, you are not just asking for help, you are entering into a relationship. This relationship invites you to lean on God's strength rather than your own, to seek His perspective rather than rely solely on your limited understanding. Prayer invites you into a space of peace and clarity, even amid chaos. It's important to remember that prayer isn't always about receiving immediate answers. Sometimes it's about finding the patience and trust to wait on God's timing. Through prayer, your heart is quieted, your mind calmed, and your spirit aligned with a higher purpose. This alignment is essential because it opens you to receive divine guidance, which often comes in subtle, unexpected ways. It might be a sudden sense of peace about a difficult decision, a new idea, or a gentle nudge to take a certain step forward. When you pray, you also invite God to work in ways you cannot see or understand. There may be circumstances and forces beyond your control, but prayer places you in the center of divine intervention. It connects you with the one who can make a way where there seems to be none. Prayer is the channel through which miracles flow, where impossible situations are transformed and where hope is renewed. One of the most powerful aspects of prayer is that it changes you from the inside out. As you pray, your heart softens and your fears begin to dissipate. Prayer strengthens your faith and renews your courage to face the unknown. It shifts your focus from what you cannot control to the one who controls everything. This shift is life-changing because it replaces anxiety with peace and despair with hope. Many people struggle to understand how prayer really works when the answers don't come quickly. But prayer is not a magical formula. It is a process of growing trust. It's about learning to walk step by step with God, even when you cannot see the full path. Each time you pray, you build a deeper connection with the one who made the way and who knows the way better than anyone else. In your prayer time, be honest about your fears and doubts. Don't hesitate to bring your questions and frustrations before God. Prayer is not about pretending you have it all together. It's about bringing your true self to the one who loves you unconditionally. When you pour out your heart, you create space for God's peace and guidance to enter. This honesty deepens your relationship and strengthens your reliance on divine wisdom. Remember, prayer also opens your eyes to see God's hand at work in everyday moments. Sometimes guidance comes through the encouragement of a friend, an unexpected opportunity, or a quiet thought that suddenly makes everything clear. When you pray regularly, you become more attuned to these moments. Your heart becomes a tuning fork, resonating with God's voice amid the noise of the world. Even in seasons of silence, when it feels like God is not answering, continue to pray. Silence can be a powerful part of divine guidance. It teaches you to trust without seeing and to rest without understanding. It's during these quiet times that your faith is refined and your spirit is strengthened to walk confidently once the way becomes clear. Prayer also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not in control and that we need help beyond ourselves. This humility is not weakness, but strength. It opens the door for God's power to move in your life in ways you could never achieve on your own. When you embrace prayer as your connection to divine guidance, you invite transformation, healing, and breakthroughs. So, whenever you face uncertainty, confusion, or fear, turn to prayer. Let it be your first response rather than your last resort. Make prayer a daily habit, not just when the road is hard, but as a continual conversation with the one who made the way. Through prayer, you will find the guidance, peace, and courage you need to keep moving forward. Remember, prayer is not about controlling God or forcing answers. It is about opening your heart to His will and trusting that His guidance will lead you to the place of peace and purpose He has prepared for you. When you can't see the way, pray to the one who made the way, because through prayer, the unseen becomes clear and the impossible becomes possible. Faith is often misunderstood as something that waits passively for conditions to be perfect before it moves forward. But true faith is active. It steps out even when the path is uncertain and the outcome is invisible. When you can't see the way clearly, faith is what carries you forward. It is the confident assurance that what God has promised will come to pass, even if you don't yet see how. This kind of faith doesn't ignore reality or pretend that difficulties don't exist. Instead, it chooses to trust in the one who holds the future, who created the way, and who is working all things together for good. Faith acts in the midst of fear, uncertainty, and confusion. It doesn't wait for perfect clarity, but moves forward with the confidence that God's plan is unfolding, even behind the scenes. One of the greatest challenges of living by faith is taking the first step when you cannot see the entire staircase. It's easy to want to see the whole path before you begin, to want guarantees and clear directions. But faith often asks us to step out based on God's promises and His character rather than what our eyes tell us. It's the trust that He will lead you safely through, even if the road looks rough or the destination is still hidden. When you act in faith, you are declaring that your hope is not in circumstances, but in the one who made the way. You are saying, I may not see the entire picture, but I trust the artist who designed it. This trust is powerful because it frees you from the paralysis of indecision and fear. It releases you to move forward with boldness, knowing that you are not alone. Faith that acts before seeing the outcome is like planting a seed in the dark soil. You cannot see the roots growing beneath the surface, nor can you witness the slow process of growth. But you trust that the seed will sprout, blossom, and bear fruit in its season. Likewise, when you take steps of faith, you are investing in a future that God has already planned, even if it feels invisible for a while. In those moments when doubt creeps in, remember that faith is not about feeling certain all the time. It's about choosing to trust despite the uncertainty. Faith leans on God's promises, that He will never leave you, that He will guide your steps, and that His timing is perfect. These promises become your foundation when you can't see the way. The Bible is filled with stories of people who acted in faith before they saw the outcome. They walked through unknown territories, faced giants, crossed deserts, and built lives on promises yet unfulfilled. Their faith was not perfect, but it was enough to move forward and trust God to complete the journey. Faith also grows stronger when it is exercised. The more you step out in faith, the more your confidence in God's guidance increases. Each step forward becomes a testimony of God's faithfulness. When you look back, you see how He made a way where there was no way, and your faith is encouraged to keep moving forward in future uncertainties. Sometimes acting in faith means making hard choices. It might mean letting go of comfort, security, or familiar ways. But when faith leads, it brings you into God's best for your life, a place of purpose, peace, and abundant blessing. Trusting God enough to act without seeing the outcome positions you to receive the full measure of His promises. Remember, faith is not a blind leap into the unknown. It is a confident step toward the one who holds the future. It acknowledges that while you cannot see everything now, God is already working behind the scenes to bring His plan to completion. Faith believes that no circumstance is too difficult and no obstacle is too great for God to overcome. So, when you face moments of uncertainty, don't wait until everything is perfectly clear to move forward. Let faith be your guide. Pray for the courage to take the first step even when the way looks hidden. Trust that God will reveal the next step when you need it. And keep moving forward with the assurance that He who made the way will never leave you stranded. Faith acts before the outcome is visible because it knows that God's promises are sure, His love is steadfast, and His guidance is perfect. When you choose faith in those uncertain moments, you position yourself to walk in victory, purpose, and peace, even when you can't yet see the way. Uncertainty is one of the most uncomfortable places to be. When the way forward is hidden, when answers don't come quickly, and when the future feels like a foggy mystery, it's natural to feel restless or even discouraged. But what if this season of not knowing isn't just a problem to solve, but a powerful opportunity to deepen your relationship with God? What if uncertainty is not a dead end, but a divine invitation to grow in dependence on the one who made the way? When you can't see the path clearly, it forces you to stop relying on your own strength, your own plans, and your own timing. It's easy to trust God when everything is smooth and predictable, but true faith is forged in the furnace of uncertainty. In those moments when life feels uncertain and confusing, God is often doing His greatest work, shaping your heart and teaching you to lean on Him more fully. This process of learning to depend on God more deeply is both humbling and freeing. It humbles you because it reminds you that you are not in control. You realize that no matter how much you try to plan or manage, there are things beyond your grasp. At the same time, it frees you because it releases the heavy burden of trying to carry everything on your own. You begin to understand that your strength is limited, but God's power is limitless. Uncertainty strips away the illusion that you have all the answers or that your way is the only way. It opens your eyes to the reality that God's wisdom and guidance are far superior to anything you could devise. In these seasons, you learn that your job is not to figure everything out, but to trust the one who has already mapped the journey. God uses uncertainty to teach patience. Waiting is never easy, but it's often necessary. In a world of instant gratification, waiting on God can feel like a test of endurance. Yet in that waiting, your faith is stretched and strengthened. You learn to rest in His timing, trusting that delays are not denials, but part of a greater plan that you cannot yet see. Dependence on God also grows your intimacy with Him. When you are unsure where to turn, prayer becomes your refuge and your lifeline. You begin to pour out your heart more honestly, cry out for help more sincerely, and listen more attentively for His voice. In the silence of uncertainty, your relationship with God deepens, and His presence becomes more real and comforting. Another beautiful aspect of uncertainty is that it teaches you to rely on God's provision. When the way forward is unclear, you may find that resources you once depended on are not available. but God's faithfulness shines brightest in these moments. He provides exactly what you need at exactly the right time. You learn to trust Him to open doors, provide strength, and supply all your needs in ways you never expected. Uncertainty also cultivates humility and gratitude. It reminds you that life is not all about your plans, but about surrendering to a higher purpose. When you depend on God, you begin to see His hand in every detail of your life, even in the struggles. Gratitude grows as you recognize His faithfulness in the past and His ongoing work in the present. Importantly, God does not leave you alone in uncertainty. His promises assure you that He is with you, guiding you step by step, even when the way is hidden. You are never walking blind without help. God is your shepherd who leads you beside still waters, even through dark valleys. His presence is a steady light in the midst of confusion. This dependence on God transforms your heart. It replaces anxiety with peace, fear with courage, and confusion with clarity. When you fully depend on God, you experience a deep sense of security that cannot be shaken by the unknown. Your confidence shifts from your own understanding to the unwavering character of God. So when you find yourself in a season of uncertainty, resist the urge to control or solve everything on your own. Instead, embrace it as a sacred opportunity to grow your dependence on God. Let it be a time to surrender more fully, pray more earnestly, and trust more completely. Remember, uncertainty is not a sign that God has abandoned you. It is often a sign that He is working, molding, and preparing you for the next chapter. When you lean into this dependence, you position yourself to walk with God in greater faith, deeper peace, and more profound joy. One of the most difficult lessons to learn is that God's timing is not our timing. When you are desperate for answers or searching for a clear path, it's natural to want things to happen quickly, to have clarity right now, and to see the full picture immediately. But trusting God's timing means learning to wait with hope and patience, even when it feels like the world is standing still. It means surrendering your own timetable and believing that God is working behind the scenes in ways you cannot yet see. God's timing is perfect, even when it doesn't make sense to us. He sees the beginning from the end and knows what is best for your life in every season. Sometimes what seems like a delay or a setback is actually a necessary part of a bigger plan. When you trust in His timing, you allow peace to fill the space where anxiety and frustration once lived. Waiting is never easy. It can be tempting to rush ahead, to make decisions based on impatience or fear, or to try to force outcomes before their time. But when you move too quickly, you risk missing the careful guidance God wants to give you. Trusting His timing means slowing down enough to hear His voice, to understand His will, and to prepare your heart for what's next. There is a deep peace that comes from knowing that you do not have to figure everything out all at once. You don't have to carry the weight of uncertainty alone. When you trust God's timing, you hand over your worries and fears to someone who is far wiser and more loving than you are. This surrender frees you from the burden of control and invites God's peace to guard your heart and mind. Waiting is a season of preparation. God uses these times to equip you with the strength, wisdom, and character you need for the future. Just as a farmer waits patiently for the harvest after planting seeds, you are being prepared in the hidden seasons of life. Trusting God's timing means believing that nothing is wasted and that every delay has a purpose. It also means embracing the mystery of God's plans. You may not understand why things are taking longer than you hoped or why the path is not clear yet, but you can rest in the assurance that God's plans are good. His plans are to prosper you, to give you hope, and to bring a future filled with promise. Trusting His timing means holding on to that hope even when the road looks uncertain. This trust grows as you reflect on God's faithfulness in the past. When you remember how He has guided you before, how He has come through in difficult times, and how He has provided exactly what you needed, your confidence in His timing deepens. You realize that just as He was faithful then, He will be faithful now and always. Trusting God's timing also transforms how you respond to challenges. Instead of becoming frustrated or discouraged, you learn to respond with patience and faith. You begin to see waiting as an active part of your spiritual journey, a time to grow in trust, to pray more earnestly, and to prepare your heart for what is coming. In the moments when it feels like nothing is happening, remember that God is at work. His timing is not about rushing or forcing things to happen, but about bringing about His purposes in perfect order. Even when the path is hidden, His presence is constant. He is guiding you gently and surely toward the place He has prepared for you. Peace comes from surrender. Surrendering your need for control, your timelines, and your worries to God. When you release your grip on the outcome and trust His timing, you open yourself to experience a deep and lasting peace that the world cannot give. This peace is a refuge in the storm, a calm in the chaos, and a light in the darkness. So when you can't see the way, remember to trust God's timing. Let patience be your companion and hope your anchor. Believe that God is working all things together for your good, even when it takes longer than you expect. And know that as you wait in faith, you are being prepared for a future filled with blessing, purpose, and joy. Trusting God's timing brings peace that surpasses understanding. It frees you from anxiety, fills your heart with hope, and equips you to walk boldly forward when the way becomes clear. No matter how long the wait, His timing is always worth it, and His plan is always perfect. When you find yourself in the dark, unsure of which step to take, remember this: you are never alone. The one who made the way is already with you, ready to lead you through every shadow and every uncertainty. Your journey may be filled with unseen paths, unanswered questions, and moments when the future feels hidden, but that is precisely when faith becomes your strongest guide. Trust that faith moves before the outcome is visible. Embrace the uncertainty as a divine opportunity to grow deeper in dependence on God. And above all, hold fast to the truth that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels like a waiting game. In every delay and every detour, He is shaping you, preparing you, and guiding you toward the purpose He has designed just for you. So don't be discouraged by what you cannot see. Pray with confidence to the one who made the way. Step forward in faith. Lean on His strength and rest in His peace. When you do, you will discover that even when the way is hidden, you are walking exactly where you need to be, held securely by a God who never fails and who is working all things together for your good. Your story is unfolding, and the path is being made clear, one step at a time. Keep trusting, keep praying, and keep moving forward. The one who made the way will never leave you, and that is the greatest hope you can ever hold.